Hello folks. I didn't know if I wanted to do this. I still don't know if I want to do this. But curiosity demands that I do this. As there was a sale at my local art store, I bought Pentel. Ooh. This was a pack of 50. Normal price $10 Canadian. The price that I paid for it was $7.50. And it'd be silly not to buy it, right? I mean, come on. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna play with these, see if they're worth anything for a beginner set. I think as far as beginner sets, I still like Expressionist. They're not as good as Gallery, but they're easier to find open source, at least where I live. So you can replace individual pastels instead of buying a whole set, which is good. All right, let's go. Shook. Let's get this open. I tell you, one of the worst things about buying things for the channel is that I have to wait until I'm free to use the camera to open them. I can't just pop it open and be like, well, that's fun. Very skinny. It's got a nice pack on top. Now I've heard these stink. Oh my god, they sure do. Pretty pigmented. Pretty pigmented for a beginner set, I should say. Not necessarily for anything that's actually professional level. Let's see how it handles a quick test. You know what the smell reminds me of? Oh god, why are you tracking? Is that better? Are you gonna ruin my day again? You know what the smell reminds me of? The smell reminds me of some of the smells that the old McDonald's toys would have when I was a kid. It's very stinky. I'm thinking of like those booklets where you wet the page and the color comes out. I forget what those are called. Oh, this pencil is sticky. Why is my pencil sticky? It is a mystery for the ages. Some may never know. So to be completely transparent, we're testing a couple of criteria here. We're testing opacity, how well it actually covers up the sketch. We're testing how well it smudges, how well it stands up to graphite, see if it smudges graphite. We're testing layering, seeing how well you can do layers over top of each other to add detail. We're testing blendability, see how well it actually mixes with each other. That's a very important trait for oil pastels, is mixing. And we're testing fun. Just plain old fun. Some of these are already feeling scratchy. Not a great sign. They're hard to take out of the packaging. It's not a plus or a minus, but it is something. Color seems to be pretty consistent. Very good pigmentation for what I paid for it. Graffito seems to work quite well too. The white doesn't layer well over the blue. but it does layer well over the black. Doesn't adhere very well to the paper. Blending via Q-tip might be out. Got lots of skin tones actually, so now something that I don't like. Oh no, they do. They have it in little teeny tiny letters right on the, yeah, you can barely see it. It says dark carmine. They blend well stick to stick, but not using an implement like a Q-tip. Oh man, it's stinky, but the smell is so nostalgic. It smells like my childhood. I don't hold on to too much pigment, but there is a little bit left over. Yeah, look at that big old smear. Look at that big old smear. It sucks because I have such a nice selection of pencils that I would love to use, but in order to keep the peace with my pastels, I end up having to use the Prismacolors and the Crayolas and the what have yous. That shadow isn't shadowy enough. That shadow isn't shadowy enough. I need some purple. Not a huge number of purples in this set. Oh, and they're quite gritty too. So the purple is a little gritty. Is it all the purples? No, it's just literally just that purple that I grabbed. These are really good. Okay, getting right into the sketch. I think I forgot to record the first couple minutes of this, but you can barely see it anyway, so what's the difference? Using Crayola Erasables on a Fabriano mixed paper, size 11 by 14. I don't know if the 1264 on the paper means anything, but that is part of the title of it. I think my favorite type of paper to draw on is actually the slightly sanded, slightly rough mixed media paper. It's nice and thick, it doesn't feel like it's gonna bend like that pastel paper that I did a couple of weeks ago. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna end up doing with all that. And of course, you've been watching the video. We've got the Pentel sitting right off the side there. We're gonna be using that for the main body of the piece. As always, got a nice cup of tea waiting for me to sippy sip. The subject of this painting is an old fisherman. I don't know what it is. I love drawing wrinkles. I love drawing faces that maybe not quite as symmetrical as one might hope. Just faces that have lived are generally just so much more interesting to me than like models' faces. And coming right out of the past, we're starting with the eyes on the pastel here. As always, just a gentle reminder for everyone drawing at home, the sclera of the eyes are very rarely actually white. You have to be having a pretty strong direct light in order for them to actually be a pure light white color. Usually they are either a blue if they're in shadow or a yellow if they're not. But as long as the shading is accurate to what you'd actually see from a wet surface, it doesn't really matter what color your eyes are. I mean, the last one, the sclera, were green, so, you know, I don't know if I've ever seen one in life, but it works because it works. Moving down the face to a cheek for a little bit of change of pace before I do the other eye. You know, it's funny, they still got so many skin tones, but I always gravitate back to the yellows. I don't know if it's just because I've seen too much Simpsons or if I just like the glowy sun. And of course, to show a little bit of age, you have the dark shadow underneath the cheek. And the other eye, not doing anything too different with the eyes this time. They're going to be mostly the same shade and color. Oh boy, don't that look freaky though without the pupil. A little bit of a cataract. Oh, that's better. And once you put the eye shine on, it actually starts looking like an eyeball. Although that sclera looks just a little bit too orange until it's got the reference from the rest of the skin. So just be careful with that. This is actually a big reason why neutral gray tone palettes are so important to painters. Because if you're mixing on a white paper, it's always going to be looking either too bright or too dark. And you don't have any context for what it'll actually look like on the rest of the paper. There we go, getting some of that orange cheek going on there. I love this super bright highlight that I've got going on the cheeks. I'm not sure what the color's called. I like to think of it as a parchment yellow, but between that and the absolute latest seafoam green that you can see, those are the colors that I usually gravitate to for my highlights. Just to break it up a little bit, I'm going to be doing the forehead in some pinks, just because I want to. So you can see it spreading down into the cheeks on the right side. The right side of the paper, not the right side of the face. Not too thrilled with the way that the nose turned out, but there's not a lot that I can do now. It's already got varnish on it, so I can't go in and change it again. What are you, crazy? Wait until I've had a good chance to review my work before actually finishing it up? Get out of here with these silly ideas! And can I just say that these eyebrows that I end up finishing up, they're not quite done yet, but when I do finish them up, I think they're actually some of the best eyebrows that I've drawn. This old man is, what do the kids say the fleek, right? That's what the kids say. Oh, look, there they are, very stylish. A little short, but it's just kind of a life that's been rubbed in sandpaper a little bit. Unfortunately, this man does not have any lips, because of the giant mustache. Oh, but the ears turn out good too. I get all nice and colorful. Some nice sunburnt pink mixed in with some greens for the shadows. It's very tasteful ear. Top 3 sensory organs. Number 1, the eye. Number 2, the ear. Number 3, the tongue. I don't really know how to draw tongues though. I don't get a lot of reference photos with the tongue out. Maybe that's just because I tend to go for the maybe not as explicit ones. Not a lot of old people stick their tongues out for the camera, unfortunately. It is my cross to bear, but I must be satisfied with not drawing tongues if I'm going to be drawing old people all the time. Starting in nice and fresh on the hat. Nice little black beanie for my man here. I never could wear fisherman's beanies. They always ride up my head, because I got such a tall head. I do have a hat that's been like a constant companion to me. It's the green one that you see me wearing all the time. Filling in the beard now, it's actually a pretty simple beard. Nothing... I wish I would have spent more time on it, to be honest. I guess between the eyebrows, there's really only one piece of hair that's really allowed to be good in a piece. For now. Rounding it off with the neck. So we got a little bit of black there for the side of the, I guess it's a hoodie? I'm not really sure what it was. I don't have the reference photo beside me right now to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's a hoodie. Probably should have spent more time on the neck too. Everything from the lips down is kind of a pass. I also think I made a mistake with coloring the hoodie in. It's kind of the same color as the forehead, so we've got a little bit of a banding issue going on there where, quite frankly, it looks like he's got a skin suit like a cobra or something. To be honest, I don't see a lot of fishermen in flesh hoodies. Who knows, maybe it's the latest fashion in the wild, wild sea. Just got some finishing touches with the undershirt. I think I decided to make it the same color as the ears, just to, you know, kind of solidify this whole flesh shirt thing. And finally, busting out the Crayolas for some good old-fashioned backgrounds. You know I do love my Crayolas. This set is starting to look a little ragged. Luckily, I've got a new set just waiting in the wings for this one to take over. Just a nice shade of blue to counteract all the pink, and I think we're just about done here. Yes, sirree, Bob. And as always, you have all been lovely, and I'll see you on the outro. So we got this guy out of the deal, which I think is worth the $7.50 that I spent on these pastels. But what do I think about them? Well, they are so freaking crumbly. You constantly have to wipe crumbs off of your workspace. But the pigment for what you pay for is really good. You do get a little bit of velvety texture, but I would put these higher than Expressionist in terms of pigment load. I know, I'm surprised too. That's about it for me this week. Please tune in next week. I should have something very special. Until next time.